From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports. Keyboard to the boardroom. This is the Business of Esports Podcast. I am Paul the Prophet Doalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Baratta. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the official podcast of esports. What we do is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry. For our regular listeners, thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for all the love, the 5-star ratings and reviews. If you haven't yet, go leave a review on the podcast. I promise we read all of them. We're humbled by all of them. It means so much to us when you leave a review. We really appreciate it. But maybe most important, share the podcast with a friend, with a colleague, someone who you think is interested in the gaming industry. We appreciate that as well. Jimmy, how you doing this week?
Doing great. Happy New Year, Paul. How was the Burj Khalifa light show? That must have been incredible.
Oh my God. I don't know if I use this term that often, but it was mind-blowing. It was like life-changing. It was one of the few things I've just witnessed and that almost brings you to tears. It's so beautiful. I like, there's a few things that can move you emotionally just from something visual. There are a few games that have done that to me. Like, wow. But I cried when I finished the Frost Saber Mount grind, but there are a few things in real life that I think can move you this emotionally, and it was the YouTube stream doesn't do it justice. You have to see it in person once in your life. I think it has to be on everyone's bucket list.
Maybe from the viewing party from your home as well would be cool. I think if you had any clips, that would be a fun episode for us to upload. It's just Paul's first person camera shots of the New Year's lights show at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai.
Next year, I'm definitely going to sell standing room on my balcony, because even like anything that even had remotely some view of the tower was charging like crazy prices to sit there. Like, wow. Pizza Hut was charging like $600 just to sit and eat at Pizza Hut, just because it had a view of the Burj Khalifa.
Now, you've also lived in New York for a long time. How would you compare it to Times Square?
It's not even close.
Not even close.
Times Square seems quaint, like by comparison. Like a nice little show, nice little neighborhood show.
Oh, that's cute.
It's not even close. I mean, it's not normal to see fireworks being fired off of a tower that's almost a kilometer high. It's just not something you would ever expect human beings to be able to do. It was incredible. It was mind-blowing. How was your New Year's, Jimmy?
I have a very pregnant wife. We are due any day now. So I was in bed by 11, lights out, woke up. I was like, oh, it's a new day. So kind of the exact opposite, but that's how I prefer it.
Although, you know how I did ring in the new year? If we're going to get to gaming stuff, I promise. After the show, I played WoW for like 5 hours. It's the only time I've had. I literally kicked off 2023 running, heroic and mythic dungeons in WoW. There you go. That's
I reminisce playing Skyrim, actually, so it's funny we both went back to like a comfort staple game for ourselves. Well, it's funny, I had ordered God of War, and because of the Christmas delays, it didn't get here over the entire Christmas New Year's break, so I wasn't able to play it with all that holiday downtime. So
just download it. What are you doing? Ordering a physical disc?
No, I ordered a PlayStation and then got the game digitally.
Okay. I thought you were waiting for a disc to arrive. I'm like,
no.
Seriously, you work in the gaming industry?
No, I was waiting for my PS5. Which finally got here after all of the holiday downtime, unfortunately.
I will say, I want to bring attention. Everyone should watch Office Hours this week. I know William had sort of his, speaking of New Year's, had his predictions for 2023. I will also say we really have a couple of big announcements coming, which I still can't talk about yet, but they are very, very close now. And we're very excited to tell people about some of the things we've been working on. And so just to stay tuned for that. And also not to forget that we still do a live show every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, which everyone should come to. And I'm actually hoping our guest this week comes to one of our live shows, maybe, shows up, does a surprise appearance, because we do have an amazing guest to start off the new year. I love kicking off the new year with something fun and different. And we have none other than John Baratta, who is the co-founder and CEO of GamerGains. Love the name. John, welcome to the Business of Esports Podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm absolutely stoked to be here. I consider this podcast one of my 2 plane podcasts. So I travel quite a bit, and this is definitely my go-to podcast to kind of catch up on everything esports and gaming related. I mean, the way that you guys synthesize all the information is just absolutely so digestible. So to be a guest here is just absolutely, I'm stoked, to say the least.
John, we really appreciate that. Would love for our listeners who maybe don't know about you or about GamerGains to talk a little bit about your background, how you got into gaming, why you got into gaming, what you guys are focused on now, just a little bit of the John and GamerGains story.
Yeah, absolutely. And the story, it's pretty interesting. So it kind of starts off that, I come from a large family and I've got a twin brother and older brother. So naturally, played a lot of video games. It was our mom's way of, hey, like, I don't want to deal with you guys right now. Here's a new PlayStation and some gift cards from GameStop. It's actually, was actually my first foray into crypto. So I was actually that kid who basically would take broken Xbox 360s that had the red ring of death. And most people would actually send these units back to Microsoft and get a new refurbished unit. I had a coding background and I loved hardware. I've been building computers since I was 8. So I took apart one of these Xboxes and I found a way to solder 2 endpoints on the motherboard to basically open source the Xbox. And the big game at the time was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And there were 10 prestiges in that game. And every time you prestige, you got new accolades and gun skins and things like that. And a lot of people had alt accounts back in the day. And I found a way to basically install a patch on my Xbox that would get people the highest level in prestige and all the accolades unlocked in Call of Duty at the time. The problem is that I was using PayPal to run the business. And PayPal, notoriously known for shutting accounts down. I think I'm like 13 or 14 at the time. And they say, hey, you've reached this $3,000 transfer limit and we need your social security number. And I was like, okay, what the fuck's a social security number? So eventually I'm a trusted seller on the site called the Tech Forum. People start talking about Bitcoin. And I find my way onto Coinbase in in the middle of 2012 as like one of the earliest users, and linked up a debit card and I purchased some Bitcoin. And I took that Bitcoin and I transferred it to my paper wallet. And I watched that transaction. It took like a day to confirm on the blockchain and was just absolutely mesmerized by the technology. And since then, that going down that rabbit hole has really, really, shaped my professional life in this space. So long story short, found my way into college. Along the way, I had any job I had, whether I was working on the beach or delivering food, always found a way to take some of that money from that paycheck and put it into Bitcoin. And when this asset class and Bitcoin start to really pump up in college, I was like, hey, I've got a lot of this asset. I'm not really intrigued by what I'm learning in college. My grades were fine, but I told my parents, like, hey, I want to take a sabbatical and I want to try the startup stuff. And so my brother and I, he's a product designer. We put together a proof of concept for a peer-to-peer crypto exchange. Imagine like eBay, Venmo, and like PayPal sort of had a baby for like a peer-to-peer limit order style exchange with like some social elements to it. So we tried doing that and we realized that, hey, the startup thing is kind of hard and there's a lot to kind of deal with. So realized we probably weren't ready to run a crypto exchange, but along the way, I was introduced to another founder in the space who had just started a company, which was called BlockFi. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, Do you guys need an intern? He's like, why would we need an intern? Come work for us full time. And I started off at BlockFi as employee number 13, doing client service, sales and customer support, but it's a startup, 13 people. You do whatever you can to kind of grow the business. Really excelled in that role, eventually transitioned over to the product management team, where by the time I had left, I ran about 8 different product delivery teams, whether it was our retail interest account, back office stuff like data warehousing. And that experience was really instrumental in showing you like, hey, here's how you grow a startup. Here's how you retain users. Here's how you market the product. And I learned a lot. But the whole side story to that is that I always like to have a side project. And Gamer Gains was actually an idea that I had when I was sitting in a pool in 2017, where I was using a lot of these, fiat competitive platforms that let you earn or participate in a tournament. And I was really frustrated by the user experience and the whole way that they were doing things. So when the whole play to earn movement started to happen back in, I think it was like last November where it really started to take off, I actually tried playing Axie Infinity. And I was like, whoa, you have to connect a wallet. Why are people playing this game? Like the graphics are horrible. And at that moment I said, wow, I've got a really cool fiat product that we could probably pivot into this whole play to earn space. So I brought the idea to Zach Prince, the CEO of BlockFi, who's a good friend. And he was like, dude, you got to go do this full time. And I was like, wait, what, really? And he shot out like a couple emails to some investors. Next thing you know, I'm like leaving BlockFi with like no money in the bank account for Gamer Gains. And I'm just got like 60 pitch meetings on my calendar. And we ended up raising about $6 million back in last April with some really tier 1 investors, some celebrities also on board, and just launched our closed beta a little over 3 months ago. And we're seeing some really significant traction, which is amazing. But what does Gamer Gains do? We're effectively an overlay on top of existing Web2 games, and sort of at its most bare bones, we let you earn different types of crypto tokens. One of ours, our own token, Gamer Token, and some stablecoin USDC by completing in-game challenges. So similar to like quests or challenges that are actually in the games you play, we're the ones making those challenges. And we actually have a really cool tournament and wagering system that we're building as well now too. And yeah, the company's growing like crazy and we're having a great time, which is the best part.
John, is it something that needs to be integrated directly by the developers of those Web2 games? Is it something that it gets built in as part of the development process? Or is it something that can sit on top of any existing Web2 game?
So the way that we're doing things is we're actually using a lot of the publicly available data about players, given that we know their username and then we can authenticate them. So for example, we've linked up with Steam and we're able to get amazing stats about Valve games and different types of, like statistics that would say, hey, here's how many hours you played, here's how many kills you've got. And this is all publicly available data. Our goal is that we sort of realize that these massive, Web2 games, that they're just not ready to take that risk and transition over to becoming a Web3 game. And, quite frankly, there is no reason for them to do that, right? So we're actually that first on-ramp for them. And for these gamers that have potentially never even touched crypto before, we don't even require a crypto wallet to start earning on our platform, which is really, really interesting. So we're basically this Web 2.5 platform that takes these amazing games that are actually fun and lets gamers subsidize some of their income or, earn some crypto tokens, doing what they're already going to do, which is game.
And explain to me the economics for you guys. Like how do you monetize? Is it, do the games pay you because there's better user retention and things like that? Like how do you guys make money in this?
Yeah. So that's definitely like our long-term end goal, right? So we sort of want to position our token and our platform as what Brave does with their token BAT. So effectively, advertisers come to BAT and they say, or Brave, and they say, hey, you've got 50 million users using your browser. We want to advertise on your browser. So what they do is they send these advertisements to your iOS, Android, Windows, Mac device as notifications. And when you click on those notifications, you get BAT, basic attention token. And we sort of realized that was a really interesting model. And the data that we've been collecting about, the gamers and what they're doing on our platform is super, super interesting. So what Gamer Games really is we're actually a platform that increases engagement and retention inside a video game. So in just 3 months, our users have completed over 350,000 challenges, which equates to 350,000 gaming hours. So we are literally, because of Gamer Games, we're making gamers play the game more. And one of the biggest bugs that we actually had to tackle really early on was that people started downloading games like Dota for the first time because it was available on Gamer Games. And it was taking a while for Steam to recognize, hey, this person just downloaded this game. So we realized that people actually have to play the game for an hour in order to say, hey, you actually own this game now. So then you can start earning some tokens while playing it.
Yeah, John, you said something earlier, which is a big, I wish it wasn't such a controversial take, but I get a lot of heat or hate for it, is that I think a lot of the Web3 games are just not fun, right? They're just not they're not very good games. And I think part of the challenge with the industry is to figure out why that is. Is it's because it's, crypto people that are building games instead of gaming people that are building games? Or is it that the act of introducing tokens or crypto or some kind of tokenomics makes the game bad? Like I've been trying to figure out what the correct thesis is, right, on that. What I love about what you guys are doing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is we believe Web2 games are still very good and very fun. And it's how can we make them tangibly better without introducing other hurdles? Because I think, again, one of the other arguments I hear is, oh, you now you can own that thing you earned in WoW. But my counter argument is always, yeah, but then I need a crypto wallet. And so your universe of potential customers, goes down by an order of magnitude. How do you guys get around that, by the way? How do you reduce that friction that exists in most Web3 games?
Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Paul. I mean, there's a lot to unpack in that loaded statement, right? And I think the first thing, just like you said, is that these people who are making these Web3 games have literally never made a video game before. Making a video game is really, really hard, right? And it costs a lot of money. So, and then you introduce the friction of self-custodial wallets. I've been transacting with Bitcoin and other crypto assets for over 10 years, and the key management thing has still not been solved. I mean, if you look on Twitter the other day, one of the Bitcoin core developers for the last couple of years was hacked and his private keys were compromised and he lost like 200 Bitcoin. That's a problem,
right? Like it's these sheets, which you can't see because my thing is blurring it out, but it's these sheets with, writing your 24, keywords down, which people are not going to, the average 12-year-old's not going to do this.
Right. It's really hard. And that was one of the frictions that I identified not only as a gamer, but as a, diehard crypto user. And that's where we became really proactive when we started to create the product. And we said, why even require a wallet to start earning these tokens? So what we effectively do is we sort of have like this IOU system. So Paul accrues these gamer tokens or some USDC. Once he hits a minimum threshold, that's when we actually guide the user to say, hey, you do need a wallet to start to take these tokens into the hands of yours and do whatever you want to do with these tokens, right? And that's where we say, hey, do you have a wallet? No, I don't. Here's how you set up a wallet. And we plan on actually doing that for the user when we get out of our closed beta. So beyond that, the games aren't fun, right? And I think I am bullish on Web3 gaming. I'm just not bullish yet. And I understand, a lot of investors, these are the kind of decisions you have to make really early on to get ahead of the curve. But I've seen some promising game trailers, and they're just game trailers, right? Like I haven't been able to play a game where I can sit down and decompress and enjoy, because when I game now, it's not to game to grind and get all the challenges done. It's literally because I have maybe 1 or 2 hours this week to really go try a new game and just decompress and relax.
John, I think there's a million different areas we can take this conversation that are all going to be equally interesting, whether it's down like the crypto route and Web3 gaming, or, for me personally, you mentioned some interesting partners that you guys are working with and that you're increasing playtime on these video games. I'm curious how long your closed beta has been open, what you're noticing on a month-to-month basis as far as that increased playtime, and what benefits or interests or what are the partners asking for, and what are the users asking for from more of a user perspective and a product perspective, unless I think are we proving this or this thesis, or what's the market fit? I want to get more into now like the actual nuts and bolts on how you're addressing those questions.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a great question. So we launched the beta a little over 3 months ago. It's closed. So the only way to get access is to be invited by off the wait list or to get an access code through our new referral system from a friend who's also on GamerGains. Thus far, we have just close to 15,000 users. We're retaining those users that are coming back, and the feedback has been phenomenal. And the goal, and I want to mention that also, the signups and everything has been entirely organic. We have not spent a single dollar on marketing yet. We put out a press release back in April. It built up a wait list, and our Discord has over 40,000 people now. And people are just joining because they're just so intrigued and interested in this concept of being able to subsidize your gameplay with some form of crypto. Our users want more challenges, right? They want all the stuff that we're promising in our public documentation, which is available at docs.gamergames.com. And we've got really exciting stuff that we're building around CSGO and other different games that we're supporting. One of the partners that we just got approved to work with is Overwolf, which is really interesting. Overwolf's been around for 10 plus years. They're basically, an Apple App Store for PC gamers. And the reason that we're choosing to work with them is because of the data that they're able to capture from a client side, which will allow us just to accelerate product development and, even build an overlay on top of PC games that we support right now, which has been our core focus, is just PC gamers, because we believe they're probably the best users to actually start adopting a platform like GamerGames, just given their technical know-how. You asked some other questions, Jimmy. Sorry, I maybe missed the back half of them.
No, I think you're hitting it on the head from each perspective, right? What are the partners looking for? What are the users looking for? I mean, anything you want to share about growing that Discord, about using that to capture feedback from the users and address that feedback in real time. Again, open conversation, honestly, into what you want to share, because I'm sure there's also things that maybe you can't share, though it sounds like you're keeping a lot of your documents public, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the blood and lifeline of crypto and gaming, the thing that they share the most is building a strong community, right? And that's what Discord does. So I've been using Discord for probably 7 years now. That is game changing for someone with a product management background too, where my goal, especially in a closed beta, is to consistently listen to user feedback. What's next? What are the bugs? And then iterate on that, and then ship more product to keep growing the user base, right? And giving more value for gamers. So growing that was really just crypto. Twitter kind of picked it up. Gamers saw it. We got a lot of play to earn outlets in like East Europe pick us up. Part of our biggest geographies are in South Korea as well as Ukraine and Russia. So I can't, say for other, founders in the space, and people are, I'm sure, aware, Discord is where not only gamers live now, but where the whole crypto communities live. So it has been such a valuable, tool for us. On the other back half of your question, the partners, we've sort of stayed away from the conversations with game studios for now. We actually just started having some with, some studios I can't, say officially out loud, but our goal was really just to start capturing the data and kind of proving out our thesis that this is actually a really valuable tool and platform for not only gamers, but for the game studios themselves. So we're really excited to have those conversations, and hopefully they continue to be really fruitful and develop something really actionable towards down the line.
Paul, unless you had anything to riff off of that, I wanted to go into another lane.
I just wanted to riff off the game developer thing just for a second. And I'm curious, John, why you think, and I'm thinking of one specifically, which is Ubisoft, but why, you think some of their play to earn efforts have not worked. And I'm curious I want to tie this back to what you're seeing from your own beta users in terms of what they're really liking about the kind of earning they're doing on your platform. Like, what is it about that seems to get them excited that didn't get people too excited about sort of Ubisoft's own offering, play to earn offering around their games, for example?
Yeah, and I'm happy you bring up Ubisoft, because me personally, my game that I play is Rainbow Six. I've been playing it for the past 5 years, and I grind it. And I think the initial backlash when they started to, potentially introduce NFTs into their ecosystem, the backlash, in my opinion, made sense, right? Like, we're pretty anti NFT at GamerGains because it actually is a barrier to enter the space, right? Like, you're telling, part of our thesis was like, again, like, gamers are really fucking bad with money, right? Like, why are we so bad with money? It's because we are consistently purchasing DLC and in-game items that historically depreciate over time. And then you're telling a gamer that he's got to go mint an NFT, create a wallet, spend $600 on that NFT, and that NFT could like lose 90% of its value over time. And that's not fair, right? Like you're telling gamers that have been consistently funding these game studios and their efforts reasonably so. They're making games that we like to play and are fun and bring enjoyment to us. But when you start introducing these concepts, hey, like you got to pay like $600 and then pay $90 in transaction fees on mainnet Ethereum, like that's just not fair. That is not sustainable, right? So, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the movement has been, hey, we'll start airdropping NFTs and all these kind of different ways that we can just get them into the hands of the users. But again, I don't want to totally come off as like I'm like the anti-NFT guy. I think there's a lot of value in them, but I think the way that it was introduced to a class of gamers who have never used the technology like this before was just not right. And reasonably so, they got the backlash. They removed some of the YouTube videos, and they learned. And that's all we can ask for is they learn and they continue to iterate and they keep trying, right?
And can you contrast that with some of the feedback you're getting directly from your own users?
Yeah. So, our goal was to make this like a seamless overlay, right? So the feedback has been nothing but positive, albeit I think the last time we did a survey, about 70% of our users already own some form of crypto. So they're a little bit more, hey, this is a platform they're kind of looking for. But our platform is seamless, right? Like we're telling gamers to do things that they're already going to do. Go get 100 kills with an op in CSGO. Go plant the bomb 3 times, right? Like these are things they were going to do anyway. So it's as simple as like coming in, hey, say, I'm going to do this. I accept this challenge. And it's just really complementary to what they're already doing. So why not do it?
Cool. Jimmy, sorry. Go.
Well, actually, no. As part of that, are you looking to recruit more gaming users that, like you said, 70 some odd percent already have crypto holdings? As you look to grow, are you looking to get the casual gamer, the casual PC gamer rather, more into crypto, or to attract more of those people that are already have a foot in each camp?
Yeah, no, for sure. Part of when we started pitching this thing, our addressable market who we're really going after here is what I like to call the retail gamer, right? Like that is a gamer who's going to put in anywhere between like 1 and 3 hours a day just to level up, decompress, have fun with their friends. We actually, in the future, when we actually start to market this product and work with different Twitch streamers and pro gamers, we want to be the first touch point for those gamers who have like been like, hey, this crypto thing sounds interesting. It might be, sometimes it seems a little scammy, which I don't think it is at all. We want to be that first foray into crypto by doing, again, something that they're already going to be doing, which is gaming. So we do want to go to those people who have never even considered opening up a crypto wallet before, right? So I hope that helps answer the question a little bit.
100%.
John, on that, how much of your messaging then talks about crypto? So I have a whole sort of thoughts around what we call things and what words we use. Like, how is your messaging? Is it very crypto centric, or are you purposely sort of staying away from that? Instead of calling something a token, it's a reward, or it's like how are you messaging it, and are you thinking consciously about that or not yet?
Yeah, definitely. And beyond thinking consciously about it, there's a lot of regulatory implications that as a founder, you need to be aware of, right? And one thing I'll say here is like, we've launched this platform. The token is not even live. We're doing it entirely with a synthetic token that'll map one-to-one when the token does go live. And 2, that we work with really good lawyers, really good law firms, and we take regulatory and all compliance, potential issues like as a number 1 priority at Gamer Gains. So back to your initial question, we on our homepage, it's like earn crypto playing the games you already love. However, in the future, I do see us positioning ourselves as more of like a rewards platform, right? And we will probably become using like, more language that is more, that gamers do take in, because the crypto part can scare some people, right? So right now it's there's a lot of crypto language, but I think in the future that'll have to change.
So again, Paul, I wanted to shift gears just slightly for a couple of questions that you brought up at the beginning, John. To the extent you can talk about your investors and your early, not the partners that you're working with to implement, I think, Gamer Gains, but rather the ones that funded you to kind of help do what you're doing. One, what you can share about their interests in you, and if they had any. I mean, $6 million is a large amount of money, right, for a startup, and we have a lot of listeners here that are, I think 2 million would be a big win for them. So I'm curious how you attracted so much, whether that round was oversubscribed, which it sounds like, what their interest was, if there was any difference in opinion as to where they thought you were going to take it, and how that's coming to fruition. And then I hate asking such heavy questions and long questions, but then I want to get into how you're implementing that capital, the hiring that you're doing, I'm sure with engineers, what region that you're finding to be the most fruitful. And we'll get into that after you tackle that front end.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Jimmy. We're really lucky to have such amazing investors. I think there's about 16 different VC firms on our cap table. In terms of the amount we raised, we initially actually set out to raise around 3.5 million, and then within I think it was about 3 weeks of fundraising, we quickly kind of hit that number. What I will also say is that like fundraising for other founders that are listening is there's a huge factor of like macroeconomic conditions that are going to dictate, one, your valuation, and two, how much you can raise, right? So right now it's a lot harder to raise than it was, back in February or, April last year, where, dollars, people weren't generating interest in the bank, right? So they had to deploy those dollars to find that return. So we've had such a, extremely supportive investors that have said, hey, we saw what you've done at BlockFi as such an early team member. We see that you're a massive gamer and you've been in the crypto space for a while. We really believe in this idea, and that's all that we can ask for, is just for you to go execute on, what is my dream, right? This is exactly where I want to be. This is exactly what I want to be doing, is creating a product that is, game changing for gamers. So the second half of your question, how like proceeds of capital, the biggest mistake that, coming from my last company is seeing is like how much money can really be burned at startups. And generally the number one expenditure is human capital, right? So you have to be really, really selective of who you're hiring, how much they're asking for, and then also making sure that you're giving them, if you're not being able to pay what a FANG company is paying, that there's also equity involved, right? Like startup shares are massive for early stage employees who are coming to take the risk with you. So we're really mindful about our burn. We've got tons of years of runway, and we're being really, really smart about how we use our money. And it's primarily being used for our employees and product development. And then eventually when we open up this beta, it'll be used to market the product a little bit to continue to grow the user base. And yeah, that's really where our efforts are right now.
What do you think, John, are going to be some of the challenges over the next, few years, or even more in the short term over the next year? Like, what do you see as some of the headwinds to what you guys are trying to build?
Yeah, I think I kind of already touched on it a little bit, but I think there's just not enough regulatory clarity in the United States. And it makes me think that there's a chance that we don't even, allow US users to kind of be on our platform at some point. We just don't know. You could see like there's just different cases happening with SEC and different token projects every day that are making it really challenging, to kind of innovate in this space where there's so much innovation to be done. That's number one. Number two, again, is just, the crypto markets, right? Like what's going on with FTX and 3AC that's happened over the past couple of months. Like that just puts a really bad stigma on an industry that has so much potential, right? So naturally, when people start hearing crypto, there's just a bad like connotation with it, which is just not true, right? Like there's so many similarities between in-game economies and token economies that there can be such a seamless experience to be created, in which is what we're trying to do at GamerGain. So I think those are really two of the bigger challenges. Again, I don't think they're like, total blockers to get GamerGains where it needs to be, but they're things that are definitely on top of mind and that we take really seriously, when we're creating our product roadmap and kind of moving forward.
And do you see the flip side of that question is sort of, what are you optimistic about, or what are you excited about? But I think I'd love to generalize it more to, where broadly do you see the intersection of gaming and crypto doing great things over the next year or two, right? Like, is the promise of the intersection of these two things, will it live up to the promise, I guess, is my question. Because, crypto has I think struggled to infiltrate some other industries, right? And gaming feels like a natural fit. And I've said publicly, and we have the data from YouGov to sort of back it up, but that gamers, are accepting of crypto, that a lot of gamers are willing to give up their traditional bank accounts for crypto wallets, right? Like gamers are a tech savvy group for the most part. But how optimistic are you about the intersection of these two things, obviously? And what does that intersection look like over the next couple of years?
Yeah. I'm so optimistic. And people, this is kind of like an unpopular opinion, but I'm kind of happy we're in a bear market, right? Like for crypto, because that's when great companies are built, right? And that's where people can really get heads down, get focused, and really do or build, revolutionary products. Where do I think that the intersection, again, it's natural, right? It's innate. Like gamers use tokens. They've been using tokens since like games have come out, right? So it's just such a natural fit. I'm also optimistic, right? Because you're still seeing massive talent, come over from the traditional gaming world to the, Web3 gaming space. I think like Fwiz, Ryan Wyatt at Polygon Studios, what he's done for the Web3, gaming, platforms and products at Polygon is just, it's crazy, right? Like there's just so much going on. So I think as long as that talent continues to shift and as adoption continues to increase and people build quality games that people actually want to play, that's a natural overlay. Like I think that, I've always had this thesis that there will be a gaming event within the next 10 years that'll probably be bigger than the Super Bowl, right? And I think a lot of those tournaments and those events, they're going to be powered by crypto in some way or the other. I think they have to be. I think like you're talking about global remittance protocols and networks that can transfer value within seconds across the world, right? Right. Like if I'm an esport pro and I'm doing all these scrimmages or these tournaments and I'm waiting for a check from the tournament organizers, rather than just getting paid into a wallet instantly after the results are verified on a blockchain, like that's game changing, right? Like, and to keep going, and it's sort of a ramble a little bit, but I do think at some point or the other, I think these game studios, these big AAA, AA, even indie game studios will start to issue tokens, and they will be integral and part of the games. I don't think we're there yet, but I don't think they're going to have a choice in the future.
Very interesting perspective. Guys, that brings us to everyone's favorite new segment, which is Judge Jimmy's cross-examination. I love this segment. It's not so new anymore, but I'm going to keep calling it everyone's favorite new segment. And what happens here, John, is Jimmy's going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions, get to know you better as a person, as a gamer, as a business person, get behind the scenes a little bit. Judge Jimmy, take it away.
All right, John, just some quick questions, quick answers. No need for explanation, like Paul mentioned, kind of rapid fire here. First question, because you mentioned taking apart Xbox 360s with the Ring of Death. What was your favorite game on Xbox 360 or console childhood game, to keep it more broadly, if that would help?
I want to say Call of Duty 3 because that was like the first single player that I like got through myself, and I was like, wow, like World War II, or if it was World War One, I forget what it was. That was amazing. But I have to go with MW2, like Riot Shield C4s with the boys, like 3 a.m. Like there was absolutely nothing better than that. And like your mom just like yelling at you, like, shut up, it's like 3 a.m.
If you could go back to school, you mentioned kind of leaving, taking a sabbatical to pursue your passion. If you could go back to school, and this is not just necessarily university, but any form of higher education, are there any classes or fields that you would recommend to a younger version of yourself to pursue?
Probably anything law related, right? Like having that knowledge of just, and talking to, the Honorable JD, Jimmy Baratta, that is so powerful, right? To have your law degree in every aspect of your business, there's always legal implications, and lawyers cost a lot of money. So if I wasn't, an entrepreneur willing to take risk, I'd want to be making, that partner bread at some law firm, probably.
I will say, out of all the startups I've consulted for, you're the only one that values the JD side of the. Usually it's a forgiveness kind of, let's just do what we can mentality, and you're like, no, we got to go above board here. I love that. John, what is your go-to snack? You mentioned Call of Duty, all these games. What's your go-to snack, your go-to drink when you're playing video games?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to eat in game nowadays, but it used to be like a Hot Pocket. I actually bought like that attachment to like the controller that like you could like eat your Hot Pocket. That was like kind of a joke when I was younger. But now, no, it was an absolute mess.
Have you tried the chopstick ones? Have you seen this? Like,
no, I've seen them, but I haven't tried it.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably now just like good old beef jerky. Just try to be a little healthier about when I'm munching on some snacks and gaming.
That last question, John, when can we expect the closed beta to open up and everyone else enjoy Gamer Gains?
Yeah, so our goal is to get out of the closed beta by the end of Q1 next year, or this year. This is now 2023. And shortly after, launch support for skill-based wager matches and tournaments by the end of Q2 this year. So we've got a lot of exciting things on our roadmap. We're building really fast. Shameless plug here. You can sign up for an account or the waitlist at gamergains.com. We're inviting people off the waitlist daily. We're also on Discord with a great community. So yeah.
That's it for Judge Jimmy. Thanks, John.
John, you didn't even have to do the shameless plug. I was going to prompt you for it. Where can people follow you guys or learn more or follow you personally? Where do you want to be followed or found?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a gamer and you're looking to get in and just get started, we're on discord.gg/gamergains. But yeah, our website is gamergains.com. There's a waitlist there. We've got links to our docs and how to get started in under 5 minutes once you get accepted off the waitlist or get invited by a friend. We're also at gamergains_ on Twitter. We try to tweet pretty often. We're building a really strong organic following there. And those are really the main places you can find us right now.
It's really cool, John. Look, I'm usually skeptical of these stories, but I love what you guys are doing and the approach, leveraging Web2 games, because I think they're still the most fun. So I think it's such an amazing story, and I hope you guys are massively successful with it. I just want to say a bit of housekeeping, guys, for our viewers, our listeners. Don't forget, every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, we do a live stream with all the news from the week. It's a bigger cast. It's a lot of fun. You get to disagree with me live. You'll be wrong, but you can still get to disagree with me. And don't forget to follow Business of Esports everywhere, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, you name it. We put content on all these platforms. We appreciate people following us everywhere. Don't forget, the most important thing, guys, the future is fun. We'll see you next week.